Hello there. Hello. Hello. Welcome. So this is the second attempt at filming this video. And hopefully the audio turns out better this time. But today I would like to show you my Will's cigarette card collection. And you can see here that I've got 1, 2, 3 different sets. 1, 2, 3. And certainly these two do. I think this one might do as well. But they date from the 1930s. So they're getting close to being 100 years old now, which is pretty wild to think about. These two are both definitely from the 1930s because they are in fact the same set. So this is, I have 2 lots of the Wildflowers card collection. I keep doing that, I keep catching the little price sticker there. You can see that I paid £6 there for this one. And it was from Bay 19 in the Antique Centre. It's one of those ones where it's lots of separate little booths and sections. And they're all owned by different people, but they all share the same space. So this version I bought first. And then these two I bought from a separate place together, but I didn't realise that this one is the same as this one. So if I flick this open, you can see there's some, so there's some duplicate. So it's all the same. But I actually don't mind it too much having 2 of the same, because it just means that I can see this really lovely, beautiful version that someone, clearly spent a lot of time doing, gluing everything in. And then so the text that applies to each card that tells you about each flower is actually on the back of each card. So it's nice that I have this version where I've got the lovely, special book. And then I also have them, loose in the poly pockets. So I can see the backs of the cards as well, which I'll show you a little bit later. But I should probably explain, for people who don't know, what these actually are. So, in the 20th century, different brands of cigarettes, when you bought your cigarette packets, they would also sometimes come with these basically collectible cards, and they would do different sets. So like this one is the Wildflowers set, and then this one is Garden Flowers, I think it is. So plants and flowers recommended to be planted in your garden. And yeah, they came up with loads and loads and loads of different, things like, so sometimes it might be like sports players. So I know I've seen series for, I think baseball players, things like cricket players, footballers, all that kind of thing, gardening tips, all sorts of different stuff. And if you didn't have them loose, which lots of antique places just have them, the sets with like an elastic band around them. But you could buy the proper collector's albums for them. So all of these is Wills, the brand Wills, issued by W.D. and H.O. Wills, branch of the Imperial Tobacco Company of Great Britain and Ireland. And for the price of one singular penny, you could buy the special album that you then glue the cards into, and it will have the information about that's on the back of the card underneath each one. And it's also useful. I don't know how clearly you can see, but it does have the little number then for each card in the series. So there is, from whoever made this collection, they did write in green pencil that it's summer 1930, and I've never quite been able to make out that last number, whether it's a 2 or a 4, maybe a 6, I'm not sure, but it's definitely the 1930s, this one. But I just think it's a really beautifully made, little collector's album, like this drawing here, which I think is really lovely in how it's been done. You've got the mum and 2 daughters collecting their wildflowers. They've got some foxgloves there. And I think that little one there might be a mushroom, which I've never really noticed before, but I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure what all the other ones are. And then you've got the village with the church in the background there. And then 2 little cows. I just think it's really nicely done. So, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. There's quite a lot of these. 28, 29, 30. I think it might be 50 altogether. 31, 32, 33. 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. Yeah, I think I'm right, it's 50. 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. So there's 50 different cards in this collection. And somebody took the time to collect every single one, which is pretty darn impressive if you ask me. I don't know if when you bought your cigarette packet, if it would be sort of one card or several cards that would come alongside. I'm not too sure about that. I've always really enjoyed flowers and wildflowers and all that kind of thing. Weirdly poisonous plants as well. We certainly did when I was younger, we would go to Northumberland on holiday quite a lot, and there's Alnwick Castle up there. Cuckoo pine, that's a poisonous plant. Wild arum, or Italian lords and ladies, also sometimes called. But at Alnwick Castle, the lady, the Duchess, I'm not quite sure what she is who lives there, but she made a garden dedicated to poisonous plants. And I don't know if they still do it now, but they certainly did when we went quite a number of years back. A book guide that you could buy which had lots of information about different poisonous plants. And I still have that book. And that's, I guess, what sort of kicked off the fascination with plants and flowers and all these sorts of things. And, you know, herbal remedies I find interesting. Obviously, if you need actual medicine, you should take actual medicine. Disclaimer. But, you know, cold remedies and poultices and all these kind of things, I just find them really fascinating. So, these feel very fitting to have. But I also think the artwork is absolutely beautiful on all of these. Really beautifully done. I'm not sure. I imagine it's the same artist who's done every single one in this collection, but I'm not sure about that. Maybe it says on the back. We'll have to check in a little bit. But it's just really nice to flick through and look at all of the different, you know. Let's have a read of this one. Cuckoo pint. Cuckoo pint, or wild arum. In early spring, one sees in our woods and hedges pointed green spikes, which unfold and become the shining arrow-shaped leaves of the arum. Later, other pale green and pointed sheaths appear. When these uncurl, they reveal the remarkable clubs or flower spikes, to which many quaint names have been given: parson in a pulpit, lords and ladies, and others. Towards the bottom, the spathe or sheath forms a hollow chamber in which are trapped small flies which cross-fertilise the flowers. In autumn, bright scarlet berries succeed the flowers. Sounds a little bit, I guess that's the hollow base, maybe? Yeah, that must be the hollow chamber. Poor flies. Kind of similar to Venus flytraps. It's amazing the way flowers can work. We've got forget-me-nots next door, card number 13. The pretty forget-me-not, the best known of the scorpion grasses, is common in ditches and wet places, where it blooms from May to July. Each flower has a yellow eye and a small white ray at the base of each petal. There's the eye, and yeah, there's the little white ray. The name scorpion grass refers to the fact that the long clusters of beautiful blue flowers curl at the tips like scorpions' tails, so that the youngest buds are tucked inside. Its botanical name, Myosotis, I presume, is derived from the Greek and refers to the leaves, which were thought to resemble a mouse's ear in shape. That's very sweet. Yeah. Forget-me-nots. What else have we got? Honeysuckle. Honeysuckle is one of my absolute favourite flowers because I think they smell absolutely beautiful. There's a lot of different honeysuckle bushes on my walk to work, and obviously when they're in bloom it just smells absolutely stunning. I think they're lovely. And I did buy a honeysuckle scented candle, but it's not quite the same thing as, the original source, which is a shame, because it is just one of my absolute favourite smells. Let's see what it says about honeysuckle. In hedgerows and woods, the honeysuckle is to be found trailing over and clinging tightly to shrubs, trees, and bushes, oftentimes winding itself so straight and hard about, as an old herbalist puts it, that it leaveth his print upon these things so wrapped, sometimes indeed becoming embedded in the growing wood and checking its growth. The old name woodbine or woodbind refers, of course, to this habit. The plant is in bloom from June to September. The fragrant, trumpet-shaped flowers open in the evening and attract hawk moths. So there we are. There's the honeysuckle. Next door there's iris. I do like the smell of iris. That's another smell. I used to have a room spray actually when I was much younger. That was midnight iris. I'm not sure if yellow irises have a slightly different smell or whether it would be the same. I guess it must be similar because it's all the same, genus of flowers. But the tall and stately yellow iris, or flag, one of the most handsome of British wildflowers, blooms in ditches and watery places from May to August. The tall flower stalks, with their golden flowers and pointed buds, and the sword-shaped leaves 2 or 3 feet long, rise erect from a thick creeping rootstock, the acrid juice of which formerly enjoyed a great reputation as a remedy for coughs. Oh, dyspepsia. I'm not sure what that is. Dyspepsia. I'll have to look that up later. Toothache and the biting of serpents. That's interesting. The yellow flag is the original of the famous French royal emblem, the fleur de lis, or flower de luce. Flower de luce, must be. There you are, see, so there's some stuff about remedy. I just find it all really fascinating. That, before modern medicine, of course, flowers and wildflowers and all these sorts of things were really the only solution a lot of people had, so a lot of that knowledge passed down through generations. I just think it's a really rich tradition. Here's another one. Common mallow over here. With mallow, it's a very big family of plants and flowers, mallow. So it's common mallow. I think slightly later on in this book there's marshmallow. I'll have to try and find it again. But from June until September, beside country roads and on waste ground, the common mallow may be found in flower. The plant grows 2 or 3 feet in height, and both main stems and leaf stalks are hairy. The large divided leaves were formerly highly esteemed as a vegetable, as a salad, and as a remedy for bee stings and wounds. Decoctions of the plant were regarded as a specific for coughs. A characteristic feature of the flower is the tall central column composed of the united filaments of the stamens, the pollen-laden anthers forming a fluffy head. So yeah, mallow, the mallow family is a big one in herbal remedies. Let's see if marshmallow is in here, like I think it is. Marsh marigold, woody nightshade. Come back to that one in a second. Orchis. Oh, well, there's another marrow. It's not marshmallow, but... Oh no, sorry, that's harrow. Rest harrow. Not marrow. Ragwort. Primrose. St. John's wort. That's another big one for herbal remedies. Tansy thrift. Maybe it is just the common mallow that's in here. Yeah, I was wrong. Yarrow. That's another. From June to September, by the wayside and on waste ground, the white or pinkish flowers of the yarrow or milfoil may be found in bloom. Each of these is really a composite head of small flowers comprising 5 or 6 broad ray florets and a central group of yellow tubular florets, so that in spite of its apparent dissimilarity, the yarrow is a member of the great daisy family. The ribbed stems and dainty fern-like leaves contain pungent juices which were formerly thought to cure toothache and headache, and ointment made from them was supposed to cure wounds. So there's the yarrow. There's the white heads and the slightly pinkish heads. But marshmallow, from off the top of my head, is was another common one for wounds. It would often be made into poultices and the like, and you could apply it to scrapes and bruises and things like this. This one, St. John's wort, is another very, very popular. Even today, people still take infusions and extractions of St. John's wort, and it's supposed to be very, very good for sore muscles, and you can use it as a muscle rub. What you can do is take a whole bunch of, plant matter, flowers and the like from St. John's wort, and then you put it in a carrier oil, so it might be olive oil or sometimes I think people use almond oil as well. And then you basically leave it for a couple of weeks to infuse in a jar or something like that. Usually in a sort of dark place, and you then shake the jar every day to help the, essence of the flowers infuse into the oil. And then once that infusion has finished doing its thing, you can then keep that oil and then, use it as a muscle rub or whatever you need to do. But St. John's wort, Hypericum perforatum, I think that Latin name is. From July to September, The clustered yellow flowers of the St. John's wort are in bloom in woods and hedges. The plant stands erect and is 1 to 3 feet in height. Its Latin name, perforatum, refers to the tiny transparent dots, oil glands here, which may be seen when the leaf is held against the light. Its English name commemorates the fact that the plant was formerly regarded as a sure defence against witches and enchantments, especially if gathered upon St. John's Eve. The long, radiating stamens are characteristic of the St. John's worts. There we are. Scarlet Pimpernel. Feel the poppy. What was the other one that we were going to look at? Oh yeah. Woody Nightshade. Which I think is different to Deadly Nightshade. Yeah, okay, so Woody Nightshade. Solarum dulcamara. Latin is not my strong suit. I studied more Germanic languages than the Romantic ones. This shrubby plant twines round other hedgerow plants and blooms from July to August. One frequently sees flowers and fruit on the same plant. There we go. The fruit is a berry, green at first, later becoming yellow, then orange, and finally red. The woody nightshade is often confused with the deadly nightshade, which is probably the most poisonous of British plants. The flowers of the latter, however, are bell-shaped and are succeeded by black berries as large as cherries. Wow, I didn't know they were that big. Both nightshades belong to the same family as the potato and tobacco plants. This is one of the other things that I find amazing about plants. You know, you've got potato, tobacco, common wildflower, and then the most poisonous of British plants. But deadly nightshade is a really interesting plant because women, what they used to do is they used to take the berries of the deadly nightshade plant and they would actually squeeze the juice from the berries into their eyes, which sounds like a terrible thing to do, and it was. But the effect, it would cause the pupils of the eye to dilate massively, and they believed it would give them a more sultry and alluring look, and it would make the eyes sparkle. So they believed. So it was very, very common and a very popular beauty trick, essentially, to spray the juice of a deadly berry in your eyeball. The things we do for fashion. But yeah. All these beautiful designs. Bindweed. I think we had a big bunch of bindweed. I think that was the plant that was in the field on the other side of our fence where we used to live. The large and elegantly shaped flowers of this bindweed, which are pure white or occasionally pink, bloom in hedges and thickets from June to August. The plant has no tendrils. Its stems climb by rotating at the growing point round any supports, usually the stems of other plants. This habit suggests its scientific name from the Latin convolvere, to roll around. The flower buds are enclosed in 2 large triangular bracts. These remain, forming a green cup enclosing the base of the flower. Hence, the plant is sometimes known as the hooded bindweed. Yeah, there you are. can see those bracts, as they're called. So yes, I'm very pleased that I own this. I might take a look actually at if we slide these bits around. So you can see here. There we go, if I show you backs of the cards, there's all of the same information there. Pull out the violet. You can actually feel. It says, with the card, I'm not sure if you'll be able to read it, but it says, this surface is adhesive. Ask your tobacconist for the attractive album, price 1 penny, specially prepared to hold the complete series. So yeah, you can actually feel the slight tack that's on the back of the card. I wonder if you just sort of maybe soaked it in some water. I don't think they'd expect you to lick it. I hope it's not like you would a stamp or an envelope. But maybe. It's really pretty, this one. Let's see what it says about the violet. Botanists identify some 10 species of British violets. Among these are the pale and scentless hairy violet, which grows in dry places and has hairy leaves. The large and handsome but scentless dog violet of our woods and hedge banks, which flowers from April until August. The wood violet, also scentless, of which there are several subspecies, one of which is illustrated, and most highly esteemed of all, the sweet violet. The last named is extensively cultivated for use as a perfume, as a sweetmeat, as a dye, and for general decorative purposes. That's interesting that so many violets don't actually have a scent. I never knew that about violets. Again, it just goes to show the amazing variety that you can find amongst, different varieties of the same species. Pop it back in there. And we'll quickly now move on to this one. Pop that back there. So this is, garden flowers. A series of 50 selected and described by Richard Sudell. Filafrhs. That must be Fellow of the Royal Horticultural Society, I would guess. I'm not sure what FILA is though. But this here now says WD and H.O. Wells. Manufacturers of Gold Flake, Capstan, Woodbine and Star cigarettes. I'm guessing this series must be a little bit later than the wildflowers. But we've got lots of different anemones. Campanulas. I think my mum has campanulas. Calendulas. Carnation, chrysanthemum, crocus, delphiniums. Slide that over a bit. Delphiniums there. I like delphiniums, I think they're very pretty. Dianthus, aster, chrysanthemum, dahlia. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can get the delphinium out. tiny little delphinium card. This variety is apparently the Mrs. Townley Parker. See what it says. Hardy perennial, height 5 feet, blooms July, colour sky blue, white eye. Most colourful and stately plant for the back of the mixed flower border. Can be raised from seed, sow in lines in the nursery bed, transplant when large enough to handle 6 inches apart with a foot between the rows, and set out in autumn where they are to bloom. Also increased by cuttings detached from the parent plant in autumn. Needs staking and tying early to avoid breakage. Likes a deep, well-cultivated soil and plenty of manure, with a generous dusting of lime before planting. Allow 3 feet of space to each plant. There we go. That's the delphinium. Lupins. I like lupins. Larkspur. Larkspur's another poisonous plant, actually. That is poisonous. Let's have a look at lupin and then larkspur. Here's the lupin. What variety is this? Russell hybrids. My mum has lupins growing in her garden. Hardy perennial, height 3 to 4 feet. Flowers May and June. Splendid in flower border. Thrives anywhere but likes dry, sandy soils best. This new strain, raised by George Russell, an allotment gardener, has every conceivable shade and colour, including self-colours of rich pink, orange, yellow, and bi-colours of purple and gold, rose pink, and amethyst. Easily raised from seed sown in a nursery plot in rows 1 foot apart. Transplant the seedlings when large enough to handle 1 foot apart each way. Plant out where they are to bloom in autumn 3 feet apart. Unless seeds are required, blooms should be cut away to within 1 foot of soil, and secondary growths will result, carrying fresh flower spikes. There we are. That's the lupin. Russell hybrids. That's wonderful. And here's the larkspur. This variety is tall, branching, mixed. It's a hardy annual. Its height can reach 3 feet. Blooms July onwards. Colours soft, distinctive pink, red, mauve, purple, blue, and white. Sow the seeds where they are to bloom in April. Thin out promptly and give each plant at least 1 foot of space. May also be sown in September for blooming early the following season. Push a few twigs among the young growth to prevent damage by winds. They like a fairly rich soil, with plenty of lime to produce long spikes of bloom. Valuable for cutting and filling up gaps in the mixed flower border. Makes an effective lawn bed planted in association with dusky yellow snapdragons. Cut off jaded spikes to promote secondary branching and more flowers. Here we go. There's larkspur. Let's see, what else have we got? Peony. Pansy, petunia. Salvia, stock, sweet pea. Verbena, Viola. Let's have a look at Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea. This variety is Gem Sweet Pea. Hardy climbing annual. Height 6 feet. Well, I suppose that makes sense if it's a climbing plant. But wow, I didn't know sweet pea grew that much. Blooms June to October. Useful for cutting, garden decoration, or for hiding ugly buildings or fences. That's very sweet. For ordinary garden cultivation, sow the seeds singly in small pots in rich soil in October. Winter in the cold frame, then transplant 6 inches apart where they are to bloom. The trenches should be opened in winter. Dig rotted manure into the subsoil and enrich the soil with fertilizer before planting. Bone meal, bonfire ash, and lime are beneficial for sweet peas. To obtain larger blooms, grow the plants as single stems. Cut away the side shoots and tendrils. For garden decoration, pinch out the top of the young plants to encourage side growths. Remove faded flowers. So there we are. That's the sweet pea. Ooh. There we go. I think my favourite is still the wildflowers collection. This one is cool, but I think I slightly prefer the artwork of this, and of course as well having the actual album that somebody made is, I think, really lovely. Yeah, this is definitely my favourite. One of these days, I'll actually peel the price off. But it is not this day. But there we are. That is my collection of Will's cigarette cards. I hope you have enjoyed having a look through. And I hope you found it relaxing.